And we will not sit idly by and let these drug dealers continue.
Officers seize millions of dollars worth of counterfeit money in Philadelphia. Take a look at this. The agency
Move out the way. Everyone on this side of the hallway, please step aside.
What's really rising up behind all these non-stop news stories that have the whole country holding its breath? As the clock ticked into the last days of January 2026, the air felt tight, like a string about to snap, and that sense of an uncertain future spread faster than the winter chill. In just a short time, one bombshell report after another hit. Tax money drained dry, underground networks exposed, lightning-fast break-ins, money vanishing into thin air, dark symbols coming to light, and quiet machines of destruction kept running in the shadows. Everything crashed together, overlapped, and shoved society into a breathless state of chaos. Do you think this is all just random, or are these signs of something much bigger closing in? Leave a prayer down below as your way of showing faith, because this story still has dark corners waiting to be lit up. And now, are you ready to go deep with me into the darkest truths out there right now? We're jumping straight in with 61 people found locked in a dark concrete room, a sign of how low humanity can sink. Late at night, toward the end of 2025 and into early 2026, a concrete door at an abandoned industrial site outside Minneapolis was smashed open. What they found behind it wasn't a storage shed or an illegal workshop. It was a terribly cramped space, and right then, we saw one of the darkest crimes happening here in the heart of America. Inside the sealed concrete room, flashlights swept over people huddled on the cold floor. 61 human beings, many months without sunlight, skin gray from hunger, eyes empty and full of fear. The air was thick with chemical smells and mold, so bad that even some ICE team members winced and turned away. They said the scene was just too cruel. According to Fox News, the rescue came after weeks of watching a suspected network tied to human trafficking and cross-border drugs. Early records show the victims had been held from 6 to 9 months. That included 17 American citizens and people from 6 other countries. Marks on their hands showed fingerprints burned off with acid to erase who they were, turning them into nameless things easy to trade, move, or get rid of. This ties into the growing fentanyl crisis. In the first half of 2025, the DEA seized over 4,500 pounds of fentanyl powder, a number that shows how huge the underground market is, running right alongside normal life. The CJNG cartel has dug in deep, using gaps in welfare fraud to fund human trafficking, linking money, chemicals, and human lives. Psalm 82:3-4 sounds like a timeless charge. Defend the weak and the fatherless. Do justice for the poor and needy. Rescue the weak and needy from the hand of the wicked. When you look at these 61 people turned into living merchandise, those words stop being just poetry. They become a straight measure of how far things have fallen. The raid wasn't quiet. Guns went off. Commands flew fast. 5 gunmen were taken down on the spot, and hidden escape routes were found behind fake walls. The whole setup showed this wasn't some spur-of-the-moment thing. It was an organized operation, run long-term and hidden well inside the city. News like this split Americans fast. Some were shocked, angry, and asking what else is being hidden behind dry statistics. Others doubted it, saying it was just political hype. But facts from several federal agencies stopped the argument at one clear point. Those people are real, and their suffering isn't made up. Deuteronomy 27:19 says plainly, "Cursed is anyone who withholds justice from the foreigner, the fatherless, or the widow." And all the people shall say, Amen. Here, that Bible verse isn't vague advice. It records a crime that crossed the line of basic humanity. Some say evil has always existed and we shouldn't make too much of it. But Matthew 24:12 warned, "Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold." When numbness becomes automatic and people can be locked in dark rooms like cargo, the line between personal evil and a broken system disappears. 61 victims were brought into the light, but what got exposed makes the truth behind it even darker. If a concrete room could sit in the middle of a city without anyone knowing, how many other doors are still locked? And now that the first piece is out, where will the rest of the picture come from? The midnight coordinated raid, the fight against the cartel darkness. Minneapolis woke up on high alert as a wave of simultaneous attacks rolled out in the middle of the night. Federal forces hit multiple spots at once, moving so fast that Rhodes barely had time to react before it turned into face-to-face confrontation. News spread like wildfire, showing this wasn't some one-off operation but a full-scale strike that had been planned for a long time. Tactical teams split up the area, locked down the outer perimeter, and pushed deep into every suspected cartel link. Armored vehicles closed in, helicopters circled overhead, and small groups moved in clear tactical formation. Short video clips captured the breach happening in just seconds. Doors smashed, suspects fighting back, tactical lights slicing through the dark. It felt like a tiny battlefield right in the middle of a neighborhood. In that moment, we realized this wasn't just regular crime anymore. It was a head-on clash between two opposing systems. One side trying to tear the network apart, the other doing everything to hold on to control. Tension spiked as cartel gunmen barricaded themselves, using trucks to block entrances and scrambling to wipe data even as federal agents closed in. Later reports tied this operation straight to massive Medicaid fraud money in Minnesota, with estimates running into billions of dollars. Earlier, Operation Artemis by DHS seized about 13,000 pounds of precursor chemicals, exposing a drug supply chain guarded by a full armed network. Those facts show the raid wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. It was the next logical step once enough pieces came together. Revelation 16 talks about a time when powers gather for a final showdown. They assembled the kings at the place called in Hebrew Armageddon. Scripture comes up here as a warning, not because of the military scale, but because the real battle between light and darkness is becoming clearer every day. As the raid went on, agents seized servers, took dozens of people into custody, and exposed the true role of places once hidden as fronts. The numbers released prove this network wasn't just hiding in the shadows. It had dug deep into finance and logistics systems. The level of organization forced many experts to admit this was one of the most complex operations ever carried out. Ephesians 6:12 reminds us the fight isn't just with flesh and blood. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. When you look at how the cartel runs on money, guns, and fear, that warning hits closer to home than ever. Public reaction split quickly into two camps. Some saw it as a necessary turning point to stop organized crime. Others wondered if there were political motives behind such a huge operation. Still, PBS videos and DHS reports confirmed the main details, so the debate shifted from "did it happen" to "how serious is it really?" 2 Timothy 3:1 warned about tough times ahead. In the last days, there will be perilous times. When violence, fraud, and hidden power all exist in the same space, those hard times stop being abstract. They become real pressure on society. The raid wrapped up with several hotspots under control, but the full picture isn't complete yet. If a network this big could operate for so long before getting hit head-on, the big questions still hang in the air. Where did the money that vanished go? And where will the next strike land? In those 18 minutes of panic, $96 million vanished into self-deleting accounts. The system didn't even have time to send an alert before the money was gone, leaving behind empty numbers and a bunch of unanswered questions. In less than half an hour, $96 million disappeared from accounts tied to welfare fraud. So fast that even the closest watchers only realized it after everything was already over. According to internal financial reports, This wasn't just one single transfer. It was the instant reaction of a whole network. As the pressure started closing in on key players, the hidden system woke up right away and triggered an emergency transfer mode. The money got pushed through multiple layers of middlemen, then slid into accounts set up to wipe their own data, making it extremely hard to trace. Revelation 18:17 once described a moment like this collapse. For in 1 hour, such great wealth has been brought to ruin. Those words echo like a mirror showing what's happening now. Wealth built on shady paths can vanish in a heartbeat, leaving emptiness and chaos behind. This disappearing money is closely tied to an earlier big scandal, where hundreds of millions were funneled through aid programs and only a small portion ever got recovered. The rest didn't sit still. It was spread out, laundered through offshore accounts, and came back in harder-to-spot forms. That whole operation shows an incredible level of careful planning. Financial experts say speed was the key factor here. To move nearly $100 million that quickly, the system had to be ready in advance, with a fast response script straight out of an action movie. Do you think this was just people panicking and running? Or was it a plan set up long ago? 2 Timothy 3:2 warned about a time when people would be lovers of money, boastful, arrogant. When you put those words next to the cold numbers in the report, a lot of folks start seeing an invisible connection. Greed isn't just the motive. It becomes the fuel that drives the whole network forward, no matter the consequences. While analyzing the money flow, investigators found many matches with patterns of transnational crime. The transfer structure, the timing of activation, and the way traces were erased all point to tight links between groups inside and outside the country. This isn't small-time fraud anymore. It's one link in a global operation chain. James 5:3 says, "Your gold and silver have rusted, and it will eat your flesh like fire." That picture isn't really about metal. It's about inner rot. Money piled up the wrong way eventually turns into evidence that comes back to accuse the very people holding it. From a professional view, analysts believe the 96 million is just the tip of the iceberg. The main flow of money may have been split up earlier and hidden deep in shell funds and hard-to-value assets. What vanished in those 18 minutes is like a door slamming shut, hiding a much bigger space behind it. Revelation 18 isn't only about one city's fall. It's about a whole wealthy system built on a wrong foundation. Looking at today's reality, many see it as a reminder. No cover-up lasts forever, and every structure based on greed has its breaking point. One thing is certain, the story doesn't end with $96 million. Other money flows are still being checked, and other accounts are still out of sight. If just this exposed part has already shaken the system, what else is hidden even deeper, right here in the heart of America, waiting to come out? Financial damage tops $4. $3 billion reveals a hidden criminal nation right here. Billions of dollars gone. This isn't just one scam anymore. It's a dark financial picture coming into clear view. When you add up the numbers, a hidden operation starts to take shape, one that's living right inside the United States, quietly draining the country's resources. Have you ever wondered what that money has really been feeding behind the scenes, under a legal cover? It started with one fraud case worth a few $100 million. Then wider checks uncovered shocking things. Luxury cars, fancy homes, and expensive designer goods got seized. That's the easy-to-see part. Behind it lies a complicated money network, where tax dollars get twisted, split up, and funneled into streams that never come back to help the community. Revelation 18:3 described this pattern long ago. For all nations have drunk the maddening wine of her adulteries. The kings of the earth committed adultery with her, and the merchants of the earth grew rich from her excessive luxuries. When you put those words next to what's happening now, the picture of a business empire built on crime becomes chillingly clear. Independent financial reviews put the total damage over $4.3 billion. That money doesn't just sit there. It's spread into secret activities, money laundering through layers of middlemen, supporting drug rings, human trafficking, and even darker black markets. Every stolen dollar isn't only a budget loss. It's a piece of a long chain of social harm. Public anger is rising as political accusations come out. Some people say there has been looking the other way, or even protection, letting this network grow. The feeling of betrayal is spreading, not because of party fights, but because trust in the system that should protect everyone's interests is breaking down. Revelation 18:11 reads like an indictment. The merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her, because no one buys their goods anymore. That image brings to mind the moment of collapse, when the whole wealth structure built on wrong is cut off from its buyers, leaving only ruin and emptiness. From an objective view, economists warn the real damage could be even higher. Much of the money has been turned into hard-to-trace assets, scattered in shell funds and front companies. Getting it all back is almost impossible, which means the final burden still falls on taxpayers. 1 Timothy 6:10 sums it up sharply. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people, eager for money, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. When greed becomes the main drive, it destroys not just personal morals, but the whole system too. What's worrying is that this isn't a loose group of criminals. It acts like an invisible nation with its own cash flow, networks, self-protection, and ability to rebuild. Its existence raises big questions about financial security and public ethics in the near future. Revelation 18 isn't just about the fall of ancient Babylon. It's a pattern for any system that gets rich through wrong. As the pieces fit together now, many people are starting to see this isn't some far-off warning. It's a mirror of our time. What's confirmed is that those billions didn't vanish by magic. If they were once hidden in secret safes, guarded by layers of power and interests, the final question still hangs in the air. What key evidence will come out to expose the whole structure, and who won't have time to cover up when the light shines straight into its center? They found $38 million in cash with a CJNG scorpion symbol. The scorpion symbol shows up, not on paperwork, but carved right onto those tightly wrapped bundles of cash, sitting deep inside a safe. When pictures of this came out, a lot of folks just froze. This isn't just about money anymore. It's a clear sign with real meaning behind it. Does it give you chills when something familiar from the Bible suddenly steps into real life? Inside the locked room, the stacks of US dollars were carefully shrink-wrapped and piled up, totaling $38 million. On the outside of the wrapping, that cold scorpion symbol stood out, not as decoration, but as a mark of who it belongs to. The people who counted it said they got goosebumps from how neatly and deliberately everything was arranged. It shows this belongs to a group that runs on strict discipline and fear. Revelation 9:3 gives something worth thinking about. And out of the smoke, locusts came down on the earth and were given power like that of scorpions of the earth. In the Bible, scorpions aren't just bugs. They stand for painful power and unseen control. When you put those words next to this picture of the safe, a lot of people start wondering if it's really just a coincidence. From on-the-ground reports, this cash was the end of a long trail of dirty money that passed through layers of middlemen and shell accounts. There's no doubt anymore who it belongs to. The scorpion symbol has long been tied to one criminal group that controls the most dangerous smuggling routes. Keeping it as straight cash instead of turning it into other assets means this is reserve money for bigger operations down the road. Revelation 9:10 goes deeper into the symbol. They had tails with stingers, like scorpions. And in their tails, they had power to harm people for 5 months. That picture makes many scholars think of long-lasting damage that's quiet but slowly eats away at society. When money gets linked to that symbol, the question of what it's really for gets even scarier. Religious symbol experts say the scorpion often stands for quiet betrayal and death coming from behind. In today's world, it also means control through fear and making people dependent. Choosing the scorpion as a mark isn't random. It's a message inside the group about power and punishment for anyone who disobeys. From another angle, some security analysts point out the symbol has a strong psychological effect too. It creates a twisted sense of something bigger and almost sacred, so members feel they're serving more than just themselves. That's part of why the network has lasted so long through all the crackdowns. Luke 10:19 brings a hopeful balance. I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions, and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you. In the Bible's flow, even scary scorpions are still under God's control. That verse is usually seen as a promise that evil power has limits and will finally be defeated. For anyone doubting the symbol might be faked to hype the story, independent reports have confirmed it's real. It matches not just the image, but also how the group marks things internally. That pretty much rules out pure chance. When you connect all the pieces, a lot of people feel this is a time when signs are being shown more clearly than ever. The symbol, the money, and the network all came out at once, forming a picture the Bible described in symbolic language. Not to scare people for no reason, but to wake up awareness and faith that might have been sleeping. The big question still hangs out there. That $38 million didn't just sit waiting to be found. If it's fuel, what machine is about to start running? And where will the next sign show up now that the scorpion has revealed itself? Fraud money funding giant drug factories. 38 tons of fentanyl every day. This isn't some number from a sci-fi documentary. It's right there in investigation reports about a drug network running like a full-scale industrial plant. When those figures came out, it hit people hard. The sheer size was way beyond anything we'd ever pictured. Just think what happens when a machine like that gets fed by fraud money. The documents they gathered show illegal cash pouring in to build closed-off production sites. There, fentanyl and cocaine get made at a cold, steady pace, like an assembly line for steel. We're not talking a few small labs. This is a system that can turn out 32 to 38 tons of fentanyl a day, plus about 70 tons of cocaine a week. That scale alone is big enough to change the whole picture of public safety across the country. Revelation 18:23 paints a haunting picture of what's going on. For your merchants were the great men of the earth, for by your sorcery all the nations were deceived. In the original language, that word sorcery ties to pharmakia. It doesn't just mean magic, it points to mind-numbing drugs that dull the mind and reason. When you put those words next to today's synthetic drugs, a lot of folks see a scary connection. Big seizures in the Midwest have shown just the tip of the iceberg. Tons of illegal stuff worth tens of millions of dollars, only shipments that hadn't hit the streets yet. Estimates say the street value of what gets produced each week could top $3.2 billion. It floods neighborhoods and slips into communities before anyone can stop it. Revelation 9:21 keeps shining light on that dark side. And they did not repent of their murders, sorceries, sexual immorality, or thefts. Here, drugs aren't just a standalone problem anymore. They're one link in a much bigger chain of crime. It brings violence, moral decay, and a hardness of heart, just like the Bible describes a society that has lost the ability to turn back. Public reaction went from shock straight to anger. Lots of people are asking, how could a huge production system like this stay hidden for so long? The truth coming out shows fraud money acted as fuel. It let the criminal network build facilities, buy chemicals, hire workers, all hidden behind misused legal fronts. Galatians 5:19-20 lays out the ugly results, plain and simple. The acts of the flesh are obvious: sexual immorality, impurity, debauchery, idolatry. People often read this passage as a warning about the road to destruction. When drugs take control, they don't just wreck bodies, they twist relationships and tear at the basic values that hold society together. Sociologists say synthetic drugs are different from old-school narcotics in speed and damage. Just a tiny bit of fentanyl can kill, so the harm spreads faster than any disease we've seen. That's why industrial-scale production is now seen as a direct national security threat, not just a regular crime issue. From a theological view, many scholars say pharmakia is mentioned as a final tool to deceive and control crowds. It numbs people to truth, makes them easy to lead and dependent. When you line that up with these huge numbers on production and distribution, the Bible's warning feels clearer and more urgent than ever. All these pieces fit together into a grim picture. Fraud money doesn't just disappear. It gets turned into poison that seeps through every part of society, destroying families and communities one by one. This isn't the story of one criminal group anymore. It's what happens when morals get loose and greed has no limits. If these factories are only part of a much bigger network, the questions ahead feel even heavier. How many more layers of this killing machine are still hidden? And where is this whole picture taking humanity next? The situation in America right now is a lot like what the Lord warned about thousands of years ago. The big picture isn't just scattered pieces anymore. With crooked money flows, synthetic drugs, human trafficking, and one raid after another, America has slipped into a long period of shaking where the old order doesn't hold its shape. The cold numbers, billions of dollars lost and thousands of victims, are not just statistics. They're signs of a system eating away at itself from the inside. Looking back at the chain of events, things that seemed separate are actually tightly linked. Financial fraud isn't just numbers on paper. It fuels huge criminal networks running like big business. Drugs flood communities, human trafficking spreads wide, and constant raids show a society always putting out fires instead of stopping the problem at the root. We're not facing one single crisis anymore. It's a real whirlwind. Revelation 18:2 paints a picture that's eerily familiar. Fallen. Fallen is Babylon the Great. She has become a dwelling for demons and a haunt for every impure spirit. This passage isn't just about an ancient city. It describes what happens to a civilization when trade and power get twisted by sin. When you look at today, a lot of folks see some sobering similarities. Social changes don't happen in a vacuum. They come with a hardening of hearts, where greed and lawlessness start feeling normal. Matthew 24:12 warned about it. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. We don't need supernatural disasters. The spreading numbness is the clearest sign of a tired, lost society. When you connect the dots, a pattern keeps repeating. Money gets worshipped, truth gets covered up, and people turn into tools in a profit machine. 2 Timothy 3:1-2 describes it exactly. There will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money. This isn't some far-off prediction anymore. It's a mirror of right now. On a deeper level, this isn't just about America. It's part of a worldwide trend where big systems get fragile once they cut loose from moral foundations. What's happening feels like a collective test, forcing people to choose, keep compromising, or turn back to the basic values that got forgotten. Revelation 18:7 gives the final, no-nonsense judgment. Give her as much torment and grief as the glory and luxury she gave herself. It's the last word on pride and wealth built on others' suffering. No need for people to pass sentence. The consequences of sin become the judgment themselves. In all this, the main message isn't fear. It's a call to turn around. John 3:16 reminds us of the real hope. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. When everything earthly shakes, this promise is the one steady anchor that never moves. Looking at the whole journey, what's left isn't just shocking headlines. It's a personal question you can't dodge. In the middle of the chaos, each of us faces our own choice. Keep getting swept along in the whirlwind, or stop and look for a spiritual way out. Faith doesn't erase hard reality, but it gives us strength to stand firm and see clearly. In the end, the big picture is clear enough that we can't just ignore it. When evil gets exposed And those ancient warnings ring true right now. Staying silent isn't neutral anymore. Truth sets people free, and sharing it isn't about scaring folks. It's about waking hearts and pointing to the only hope that won't collapse. Looking at the big picture, those 6 news stories we just went through aren't just separate little pieces of the daily news anymore. They're starting to fit together into a much larger scene, one of a world that's really shaking. From strange upheavals and hard-to-explain troubles, to that quiet feeling of unease creeping into everyday life, it all reminds us that history isn't just random. The Bible put it plainly in Matthew 24:6-8. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but that is just the beginning of the birth pains. When we put those 6 stories side by side, we start to feel the heartbeat of a warning that was given a long time ago. What I'm sharing here isn't meant to scare anybody. It's to help wake us up and make us think. The Bible doesn't feel like some old, distant book. It feels like a mirror showing us what's happening right now. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events, and great signs from heaven." When we line that up with today, it's hard to ignore how much they match. It makes a person stop and really ask themselves where they're headed. From that kind of awareness, the call isn't to panic, it's to turn back. This is a time for each of us to quiet our hearts, reconnect with what's truly spiritual, and put our full trust in the one who holds history in his hands. Psalm 46:1 reminds us, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. When we turn to him with honest prayer, that unease slowly gets replaced by a peace that goes beyond what we can figure out on our own. If these thoughts touch your heart, feel free to share a short prayer or your own thoughts in the comments below. It's a simple way to stand together in faith. And if you pass this along or stick with the channel for the long haul, it helps us all keep hearing the next messages, the reminders we need in these shaky times, so our understanding doesn't get broken up along the way. Finally, thank you so much to everyone who's taken the time to listen and think about this. May the grace and protection of the Lord be with us and our families in every situation, like the blessing in Numbers 6:24-26. The Lord bless you and keep you, and give you peace. Amen.
Split open. The camera captured an extraordinary scene. A bizarre shape emerged in...
O som foi gravado por dezenas de pessoas.
These strange
The sky is cracking open. Giant waves are swallowing cities whole. Strange lights are flashing everywhere. Early in 2026, is Earth screaming its final warning? When everything we thought was steady starts shaking all at once, the fear doesn't come from just one place anymore. It rushes in from every direction, fast and hard, not giving people any time to get ready. In just a short time, the oceans turn angry, cities catch fire, the sky changes color, weird lights tear through the darkness, and the ground and the air itself seem to lose control. Things that look like they're not connected keep happening one after another, piling up, covering many continents, making it feel like the world is being pushed quickly toward a point of no return. Do you think this is just a coincidence? Or is it a wake-up call that people have ignored for way too long? If you still have a little faith left in your heart, please leave a prayer in the comments below before we go deeper together into each moment that's so unbelievable, yet really happened out in the open, for real. Amen. And now, so you don't have to wait any longer, we'll jump right in with 1. The pitch-black monster wave out on the wild ocean swallowed up the whole coast of Sicily, Italy. A towering wall of inky black water slammed into the Sicily shore in Italy, wiping out everything in its path. In just a second, the familiar coastline was gone. The roaring scream of the ocean drowned out the warning sirens, and the panic spread so fast we barely had time to figure out what was happening. The first reports came pouring in. Pictures flew around like crazy, carrying a chilling message. The sea wasn't calm anymore. Sicily is usually known as a peaceful spot in the Mediterranean, where life moves with sunshine, breeze, and gentle waves. But this time the water turned dark, almost black, rising up like a giant wall far out at sea before crashing straight onto land. Scientists have recorded big waves in this area before, but the recent weird shifts in the Earth's magnetic field and strange space weather patterns have made experts rethink old ideas because this one was way bigger than normal. From the videos spreading fast and early numbers, the wave was estimated at nearly 100 feet high, moving at tremendous speed, sweeping away cars, houses, and anything in its way. According to CNN, experts called this one of the most dangerous rogue wave events recorded in the Mediterranean in recent times. Time-lapse footage shows the black water surging up like a flood from the deep, feeling just like a gate to hell had swung open. Local authorities in Sicily quickly sent out emergency warnings, telling people to stay away from the coast, move out of low-lying areas for now, and absolutely not go near the water. Amid all the dry facts and technical alerts, the Bible quietly came to mind in a haunting way. Genesis 7:11-12 says, "In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day, all the fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the windows of the heavens were opened, and rain fell upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights." The picture of water rising from the deep suddenly matched what we were seeing in a really scary way. Jesus also talked about those days in Matthew 24:37-39. "For as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. They were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away." Those words don't spell out a final answer, but they're enough to plant a deep unease in people, like history might be repeating itself in a different form. Many scientists say this was a rogue wave caused by unusual weather and ocean conditions. But the way they kept coming and the unbelievable size make that explanation hard to accept fully. It doesn't ease the shared worry. When the sea suddenly turns furious and everything we trust feels so fragile, the feeling grows that this isn't just another natural disaster. So the wave in Sicily isn't simply a weather story anymore. It's become a powerful wake-up call, as if something bigger is starting. If the ocean has roared like this, the question doesn't need an answer right now, but the echo hangs there. Is this just the beginning of even larger changes ahead? 2. War on the streets of Marseille, France. Marseille suddenly fell into chaos out of nowhere. It's no longer just scattered news clips. The video shows a suffocating reality where city order breaks down in just minutes, leaving you with the feeling that the line between normal life and violence has been ripped apart. Marseille is normally a busy port city in France, where people and goods come together every day. But in the spreading footage, familiar avenues are covered in black smoke, shop windows are shattered, and flames burst from cars and restaurants alike. This scene doesn't stand alone. It reflects a wave of social unrest happening in many European cities, where global tensions make local conflicts worse and push crowds past the point of control. In the footage captured by CNN, cars burn fiercely at intersections, police lines move forward through tear gas, and protest groups face off hard. You see national leaders pop up here and there in the news, but the real focus of the video is the street itself, running on the rules of violence. No harsh commentary is needed here. The chaos speaks for itself. Official statements come out in calm, neutral tones, stressing that they're restoring order and keeping civilians safe. They use the term civil unrest to describe what's happening, like they're trying to put a clean label on it. Still, when you watch the full sequence of images, the sense of things being out of control is clear. Fires spread faster than the response, and the city space turns into a temporary battle line. Right in the middle of those scenes, the Bible comes in as a distant but loud warning. Matthew 24:6-7 says, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom." This warning doesn't try to explain every detail. It puts the chaos into a bigger picture of growing conflicts. That warning gets even stronger in Revelation 6. 4. Its writer was given power to take peace from the earth and to make people kill each other. To him was given a large sword. Once peace is taken away from public life, what's left is a chain reaction of fear and confrontation. Just exactly what the video lays bare. Some say this is just a local political and social problem. But when similar images show up in so many places with the same rhythm of chaos, the idea that it's all random starts to feel shaky. What's being said here isn't a rushed conclusion. It's the recognition that social unrest is becoming a familiar sign of our time. So the video from Marseille doesn't just record one night of rioting. It sets a new level for how safe we feel in modern cities. When streets can turn into battlegrounds in a flash, peace starts to feel more fragile than ever. And hanging at the end of the frame is a question still without an answer. Where will this wave of chaos stop? Or will it keep spreading to other cities? 3. A terrifying red sky like a hell on earth. Night falls, but the sky doesn't get dark. It turns this heavy orange-red, like the whole atmosphere is slowly burning right above us. That light doesn't feel like a pretty sunset. It makes you feel watched, covered by something way beyond the usual. When you look up at a sky like that, have you ever wondered, if this isn't just weather, what is it trying to tell us? This has been seen over huge areas, from states here in the US to several countries in Europe. Those days the wind shifts direction, light gets bent, the sky's colors look twisted and hard to name. The familiar world suddenly feels like somewhere else, where everything turns hazy, heavy, and full of unease. Seeing it happen in so many places at once makes the creepy feeling spread faster than those high-up winds ever could. When the sky goes that fiery orange-red, the sound of wind howling through buildings adds this dark, gloomy background. A lot of folks say it feels like standing right at the edge of something huge, where nature's order is stretched to the breaking point. No explosions, no physical crash, but the mental pressure is real, like the whole world is holding its breath, waiting for what's next. Joel 2:30-31 talked about signs in the sky and on the earth. And then the Bible words come, I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, columns of smoke. The sun will turn dark, the moon will turn blood red, before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes. Put those words next to a blazing red sky, and the connection is hard to ignore, like an ancient piece just clicked back into place. Revelation 6:12 paints an even stronger picture. When the Lamb opened the sixth seal, there was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth, and the whole moon became like blood. Those descriptions aren't about one specific spot. They show an atmosphere of a certain moment where nature mirrors something way outside the normal cycle. Scientists explain it with atmospheric scattering, smoke from huge wildfires, or solar storms changing how light passes through the air. NASA reports have mentioned solar storms that can alter sky colors over wide areas. On one side, you've got equations, data, and climate models. On the other, prophetic words that have been around for thousands of years. When you set those two views side by side, which one do you lean toward? Or do you think both are happening together? One thing's for sure. The feeling that red sky leaves behind isn't neutral at all. It wakes up fear, curiosity, and deep questions about what it all really means. Faith sees a reminder in it. Science sees a chain of causes. But both agree, this isn't an image you easily forget. If that red is just the beginning, what happens when the sky turns even darker? And as the light up there keeps changing, what message will humanity finally read from it? 4. The sky cracked open in Utah and Ohio, USA. A sudden bright light ripped through the sky like a giant sheet of glass, shattering right in front of you. A fiery streak appeared, stretched out, then branched off, with a deep, rumbling roar echoing from above that made the air feel thick and hard to breathe. It didn't feel like watching some ordinary thing in the sky. It felt more like standing on the thin line between order and total chaos. If you saw that moment, what would be the first thought that popped into your head? Utah and Ohio are so different. One's wide-open desert, the other's crowded neighborhoods. Yet the pictures and videos from both places look strangely alike in a way that's hard to explain. Up high, the light formed sharp cracks, like a stretched net suddenly showing itself for a second. Everything happened fast and intense, long enough to scare you, but quick enough that the sky closed back up, leaving just silence and a bunch of unanswered questions. Videos spread like wildfire online, with people slowing them down to study every little detail. Some say it was pieces of a meteor breaking up in the atmosphere. Others talk about high-altitude electrical currents stirred up by solar activity. Still, that deep roar coming down and the feeling of the sky actually tearing open make a lot of folks think those explanations don't quite get to the heart of it. Luke 21:25-26 comes up a lot in talks about this, and it's pretty haunting in this moment. The verse says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. People will faint from terror, apprehensive of what is coming on the world, for the heavenly bodies will be shaken." When you put those cracking sky images next to these words, a lot of people start connecting what they just saw to warnings that have been around for a very long time. Online, folks quickly split into different camps. One side says it's just a rare light phenomenon, something scientists who study the atmosphere and stars already know about. The other side points out that this grid-like light pattern and the shaking feeling spreading out haven't really been recorded like this before. The debates keep going, showing how uneasy everybody feels about things we can't control. Isaiah 34:4 opens up another layer of thought, with the words, "All the starry host of heaven will be dissolved. The sky will be rolled up like a scroll. All the starry host will fall like withered leaves from the vine, like shriveled figs from the fig tree." For many, that torn open sky looks a whole lot like a page in a book being flipped hard, showing something we're not quite ready to fully understand yet. Science will probably keep coming up with more data and ideas to explain what happened, but the feeling of watching the sky crack like that, it sticks with you, heavy and hard to shake. If those cracks only showed up for a moment, where do they lead? And what's waiting on the other side of that sky that just closed again? 5. Unexplainable light clusters in Lyon, France. Faint green lights hung quietly behind the low clouds. They weren't blinding, but they just stayed there, steady, like some invisible breathing spreading across the sky. The scary feeling didn't come from noise or fast movement. It came from the long silence that made your mind drift to things beyond what we can understand. Those light clusters didn't shoot away or fade right off. They kept a soft, even glow for hours. We looked up and wondered what could make the sky pulse like a living thing, while the city below stayed awake with a quiet unease. No emergency alerts, no quick explanations, just videos catching that pale green light reflecting off old rooftops. Some atmospheric experts later suggested it might be tied to solar radiation hitting the upper atmosphere, causing a rare glowing effect. Others talked about electromagnetic interference or strange interactions between clouds and energy flows in the air. Still, those ideas left a lot of questions open because the lights seemed to just hang still, without the usual traits of planes or satellites. Acts 2:19 often comes up as a key to understanding it. The meaning gets brought back like this. Up above, strange signs appear that make people stop and think, while down on the earth, upheavals wake up deep fears. When you put those words next to the lion sky that night, a lot of folks felt a connection too strong to ignore. On the other side, science keeps stressing there's no proof yet of anything supernatural stepping in directly. Researchers are calling for more data, measuring light spectra, tracking solar activity, to get clearer answers. The contrast between the two views leaves a quiet space where faith and reason both sit, neither one fully taking over. Revelation 16:18 gets seen as another layer of meaning. with its picture of flashes, rumblings, and great shakings, signaling a serious moment. When people interpret it that way, many believe these light clusters aren't just a physical thing. They're a reminder of how fragile our world really is. The faith it stirs up doesn't come from pure fear, but from a sense of waking up to something much bigger than us. Whether we name this phenomenon with science words or faith words, that green light left a deep mark in our shared memory. The pulsing on the lion's sky may have stopped, but the question still hangs there. If the sky is really sending out a heartbeat, is humanity ready to listen and answer? 6. Mysterious skylights in Arizona, United States. The night in Arizona started out real calm. The desert sky stretched out wide and quiet, like always, with just a soft breeze drifting over the cool sand. The first light appeared faintly, nothing scary, more like a slow, steady flash hanging up high. It was so peaceful that most folks would easily miss it, until the second and third lights followed, coming more regularly, getting clearer. In just a few minutes, the flashes picked up, growing stronger and spreading into big glowing patches across the night sky. The desert is used to meteor showers and sky events, but this time the lights didn't streak down or fade out quick. They stayed steady for almost 3 hours. We looked up and could really feel the tension building, like something huge was slowly blocking out parts of the darkness. Videos going around show the lights pulsing bright, with soft edges that looked bent or curved, giving the feeling that something was there behind the familiar sky. No thunder, no rain, no sign of a storm. But the air felt heavier than normal. That strange, unclear feeling left a lot of people standing still, just watching and wondering what their eyes were really seeing. Different opinions popped up fast on social media. Some said it was probably just a meteor shower or a solar energy burst, the kind that can sometimes make rare pulsing lights over the desert. Others pushed back, pointing out the lights lasted way too long, didn't follow any clear path, and didn't match any published astronomy calendar. In the middle of those debates, Matthew 24-29 got brought up as a possible hint, and then the full verse was shared. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. When people put those words next to the feeling of the sky being covered over in Arizona, a lot of them noticed the hard-to-ignore similarity. From another angle, Luke 21:11 adds more to the picture. There will be great signs from heaven, and on the earth there will be famines and pestilences and great earthquakes in various places. The Bible doesn't give a scientific diagram, but it paints a scene where the sky becomes a signal for bigger, deeper changes coming closer. Scientists are staying careful, stressing there's no proof yet of anything supernatural, and they're calling for more data on magnetic fields, plasma, and atmospheric activity. Still, there's a gap between the technical explanations and what regular people actually felt, and reason doesn't fill that space easily. When the last lights finally went out, the Arizona sky went back to its usual quiet, but the sense of something blocking or shielding still lingered. If it was only a natural event, why did it leave such a deep unease? And if it was a warning, what exactly is being prepared behind the dark? That question still hangs there. Has this light finished? Or was it just the first sign of something much bigger about to come back? 7. Strange glowing orbs in the Mexican sky. Reports came pouring in from 3 continents. Round glowing rings shot across the sky over a small village in Mexico, and almost at the same time, people spotted them in Brazil and Nepal. They moved so fast that folks watching could only hold their breath. You could really feel like the whole world was being stretched tight in that one moment. Videos kept showing up one after another, enough to wipe away the usual lines between countries. In far-off rural areas, people looked up and saw these glowing rings glide overhead like living sparks of fire, silent, with no clear path. We watched them suddenly speed up and then vanish into the dark, leaving the sky empty and a heavy quiet behind. It didn't happen just once in one place. It spread in a chain, giving the sense that something was moving on purpose. People quickly compared them to famous meteor showers, especially the strong ones that Earth's sky has reported before. But unlike meteors, these glowing rings didn't blaze along a curved trail. They stayed perfectly round and steady before speeding up in a strange way. The thing that confused so many was easy to see. They appeared at almost exactly the same time in different hemispheres. Joel 2:10 came up as an old warning, and then that haunting Bible verse rang out. The earth quakes before him, the heavens tremble, the sun and moon grow dark, and the stars withdraw their shining. When you put those words next to these glowing rings racing through the night, a lot of folks felt this wasn't just some lone light show. It was a sign of something much deeper, shaking the skies. The mystery grew thicker when people brought up Revelation 8:10 as another warning. It says, "The third angel sounded his trumpet, and a great star, blazing like a torch, fell from the sky on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water." That picture of a burning star made quite a few think of these fast-moving, glowing rings, as if a message was being sent out across the whole world. Pushback came fast, too. Some said these were just drones or new tech tests. But that idea ran into questions about the speed, the height, and how they showed up at the same time in different countries. We saw arguments going back and forth, science trying to stay careful and hold its ground, while faith saw signs that go beyond normal technology. When the chain of glowing rings finally quieted down, what was left wasn't a final answer. It was the feeling we'd all been put in front of one big warning. If these were fast messengers meant to grab the world's attention, then what's the real purpose? And the question still hangs in the air. Will those glowing rings come back? And where will they lead humanity the next time they appear? 8. Those strange, scary clouds covered the whole sky. The sky over Kansas opened up something hard to put a name to. Thick clouds rolled into weird wave shapes, glowing from the inside like something was moving in there. The light wasn't bright and flashy, but it was enough to send a chill down your spine, because the thicker the clouds got, the clearer that glow showed through. That odd feeling spread fast, like the air was holding onto a secret it wasn't ready to share. The Kansas plains are used to storms and strong winds, but this cloud setup was so unusual it was tough to explain. Layers of clouds stacked up, rippling like water that's been stirred hard, forming a heavy dome that covered a huge area. We stood under that sky, and suddenly the familiar look of nature felt strange and far away. When light broke through the gaps in the clouds, the whole scene got even more eerie, like the slow, deep breathing of some giant creature. Videos going around showed the clouds moving non-stop, not really following any clear wind direction, and it left a lot of people stunned. You could feel the uneasiness building, even though the ground stayed quiet. Weather agencies said it might be a rare cloud type tied to strong turbulence in the upper air, mixed with winter weather conditions and some upper-level influence. Still, that explanation left questions hanging, especially about the light coming from inside those thick clouds, something you don't usually see in normal storm systems. That vagueness made the fear harder to shake off. Exodus 19:18 got brought up like an old accusation, and then the Bible words hit hard. The whole Mount Sinai shook violently because the Lord came down in fire. Smoke rose like smoke from a furnace, and the whole mountain trembled greatly. When you put those creepy glowing clouds in Kansas next to that passage, the sky stops being just a weather thing. Revelation 11:19 got matched up too, like an even stronger charge. God's temple in heaven was opened, and within his temple, the Ark of his covenant was seen. Then came flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, an earthquake, and a severe hailstorm. All those pieces come together into a picture where nature itself stands as a witness to judgment that's starting to form. Some folks say this was just rare weather that hasn't gotten enough attention before. But the way the cloud shapes, the strange light, and that heavy, hard-to-describe feeling lined up made it tough for a lot of people to buy a purely scientific answer. We can see the gap plain as day between the measured data and what people actually felt. As the cloud mass slowly broke up and the light faded, the Kansas plains went back to looking normal, but the aftertaste didn't go away. If this was only some atmospheric disturbance, why did it leave behind the sense of an accusation hanging right over everyone's head? And the question still hangs there. Was that cloud just a passing image, or a sign of something much more serious building up behind the familiar sky? 9. A glowing cross full of mystery in the night sky. That day, the air over the Colorado high country went strangely quiet. Up in the sky above Glenwood Springs, an orange cross appeared, just hanging there against the pale clouds, staying in the same spot for about 10 minutes. No thunder, no wild movement, just a clear, bright shape that made you slow down and catch your breath. When you face a moment like that, have you ever wondered why the sky sometimes chooses to speak by staying silent? Glenwood Springs sits right in the middle of rugged mountains, where folks are used to changeable weather and odd light shows. Still, that cross wasn't like the northern lights or some sunset cutting through clouds. Many people who saw it said the light had real depth, sharp edges, and stayed perfectly still, like it was placed there on purpose. Knowing the area well didn't make the feeling go away that what was showing up was beyond normal rules. While the light was there, the people below went almost completely quiet. It wasn't fear, but a kind of hazy, holy feeling, as if a message was being sent but hadn't quite been spoken yet. Some folks mentioned scientific ideas, like cloud illusions or rare light bending, but those explanations don't really cover why the shape stayed so perfectly balanced and the color so steady the whole time it was visible. In the middle of all that mystery, the Bible comes in like a key that unlocks meaning. Galatians 6:14 says, "But as for me, may I never boast, except in the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, by which the world has been crucified to me, and I to the world." These words aren't talking about a light in the sky, but about a symbol that lasts through time, a cross that's not just a shape, but a reminder of the way back to the roots of faith. When you put that event in the bigger picture of signs in the heavens, another verse adds even more weight. Revelation 1-7 reads, "Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him, even those who pierced him, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn because of him." In this view, the sky isn't just a blank background anymore. It becomes the place where signs are shown, so people have to face their own hearts. So the cross over Glenwood Springs isn't just a pretty or strange moment. It reminds us that in a noisy, busy world, there are still quiet signs calling people to pause, change direction, and remember what's truly important. If the sky spoke in such a gentle, hidden way, the question still hanging there is that cross a sign that salvation is drawing near, or the soft tolling of a bell for a time of reckoning that's coming soon? 10. Terrifying lights in Turkey. That night in Turkey, the sky didn't start quiet. It kicked off with wild, flashing lights jerking around like they were out of control. Bright streaks ripped across the darkness, followed by deep rolling thunder. Even though there was no rain, no storm at all, the ground hadn't started shaking yet, but the air felt thick and hard to breathe. When the sky makes sounds like judgment while the weather stays perfectly calm, what do you even think is really going on? This area sits right on ancient fault lines, where history has recorded some truly terrifying earthquakes. But those lights didn't come with storm clouds, no strong winds, none of the usual signs of a thunderstorm building. People said the sky looked like it was being torn open, then closed up again, over and over for about 10 minutes before everything just stopped suddenly, leaving behind a fear that didn't even have a name yet. The beams of light stretched wide, then snapped narrow so fast your eyes could barely keep up, making everything feel chaotic and unsteady. The thunder didn't boom in a regular rhythm. It came in heavy, pounding bursts, almost like it was rising up from deep underground instead of the clouds. In that moment, the line between normal nature and something way beyond our understanding got really blurry, and the unease spread through every neighborhood. Right in the middle of all that tension, the Bible steps in with words that don't hold back. Revelation 16:18-19 says, "Then came flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, and a great earthquake, such as there had never been since man was on the earth. So great was that earthquake. The great city was split into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell." Those verses aren't just talking about physical destruction. They're about the old order being broken apart to make way for judgment. Another passage makes the feeling even heavier. Ezekiel 38:19 says, "For in my jealousy and in my blazing wrath, I declare, on that day there shall be a great earthquake in the land of Israel." When you put those words next to the lights and sounds in Turkey, they ring like a confirmation that both earth and sky can become tools for a very serious message. Some people try to explain it away as a rare atmospheric electricity thing or some solar event affecting things down here. But with no rain, no wind, and that unusual fierce intensity, those ideas just don't carry much weight. What's left isn't a neat explanation. It's the strong feeling that the earth is heading into a time of deep, serious changes. So those terrifying lights over Turkey didn't just end a string of strange events. They left behind a strong warning. If this is only the beginning sign, then whatever's coming next will be far bigger than the fear we're feeling right now. And the question still hanging in the air is, are we ready to face what's coming? 10 strange events have come one after another, like slow, deep drum beats, not loud, but strong enough to shake up how we see things. From skies looking strange, unusual lights, to signs that make people lift their heads and look up, they all fit together into one clear picture, not scattered pieces. When you put them side by side, they form a tight chain, where Bible words no longer just sit on the page, they seem to be stepping out into real life. The Bible warned there would be times when people need to wake up and see the deeper meaning behind what's happening. Matthew 24:33 puts it plainly. In the same way, when you see all these things, you know that the Son of Man is near, right at the door. Those words come like a quiet but serious whisper, not to scare us, but to wake up some real thinking deep inside each of us. Looking back at the whole string of signs, what's striking isn't just one odd thing by itself. It's the feeling that everything is piling up, coming faster and heavier. Luke 21:25-26 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. People will faint from terror, anxious about what is coming on the world." Reading those lines against what's happening now, the matchup makes it hard for anyone to just shrug it off. Facing these signs, what really matters isn't arguing who's right or wrong. It's how each heart answers back. Amos 4:12 warns, "Prepare to meet your God, O Israel." It's a quiet but powerful call, urging us to turn inward, get our faith in order, and put our spiritual life back in the right place. Even in the unease, the Bible still opens a door to hope. John 14:27 says, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you." That peace doesn't come because the world stops shaking. It comes when people find a solid place to stand in the middle of it all. That's where faith becomes a safe shelter instead of a heavy load. These strange signs have been told, but the story doesn't seem finished yet. Will they keep coming even stronger? Or is this the last bell before something truly big? That question just hangs there, not to make us panic, but so each of us can face it and answer with our own choice. If these thoughts touch your heart, maybe leave a short prayer below, or just an honest thought as your way of responding to what you've seen. And if you'd like to keep walking with the messages that come next, sharing and following will help make sure nothing gets missed on this journey. May peace be with us and each family in every situation. Amen.
That my administration will focus on ending the absolutely horrific
Nation.
President Trump is threatening to send federal troops to Minnesota.
Between Ilhan Omar and Don Samuels got some extra heat this week with accusations.
What happens when a country once seen as a model starts turning on itself. In 2026, America keeps getting shaken by things we just can't ignore. Homes raided, old files dug up, hundreds of millions of dollars vanishing from programs meant to help poor folks. Minneapolis turns into the center of it all, with scam after scam, investigation after investigation, and nonstop criticism hitting so fast, nobody gets a chance to catch their breath. In just a short time, 7 news stories come one right after another. The kids' nutrition fund gets gutted. Strange money flows through middleman groups. Familiar faces get questioned about their responsibility and honesty. Everything is clear, specific, and big enough to make you stop and think. Do you feel like something's gone way too far? If there's any worry in your heart, leave a prayer in the comments below. Just a simple way to remind ourselves not to look the other way at what's happening. Amen. Now come along with me as we pull back the curtains on the truths God has quietly placed in every one of these shocking events hitting America these past few days. We'll start right with the raid on the mansion of the 46-year-old Somali governor figure kicked off a real political storm. What happened in Minneapolis isn't based on guesses. It's coming straight from clear news reports and official numbers. The Feeding Our Future case was found to have lost about $250 million from the kids' nutrition program. 78 people got charged, and a bunch of bank accounts and properties got frozen for the investigation. When all this info hit the federal records at once, it was obvious this wasn't some small mistake. It was big enough to make the whole system react. Minneapolis is home to around 80,000 Somali Americans, and it used to be seen as a real success story for fitting in. But right there in the city, investigations showed a lot of fake groups turning in phony paperwork, fake invoices, and pulling out subsidy money for a long time. That cash was traced through bank accounts, real estate, and middleman businesses, making a clear chain of transactions. Once the pieces came together, the picture got a lot sharper. From that background, the raid on a mansion owned by a 46-year-old Somali community figure who had some influence became the next big flashpoint. Federal agents showed up early in the morning, blocked off the area, and took away paper files, computers, and storage devices. According to Fox News, the operation was part of looking into financial fraud suspicions and possible ties to groups already under watch, even though the final legal conclusions are still being wrapped up. Pictures of the mansion under control spread fast and got mixed reactions. Some folks said it was a necessary step to protect taxpayers' money. Others worried the heavy news coverage might make the whole community look bad unfairly. The debate went public because the numbers are out there and hard to ignore. That's where the story started going beyond just one search warrant. The Bible, in 1 Kings chapter 21, verse 19, talks about the fallout from using power to grab someone else's property. This is what the Lord says: "Have you murdered and taken over someone's land?" The story of King Ahab isn't about pointing fingers at anyone today, but it reminds us of a pattern we see too often. When power mixes with personal gain, trouble starts with things that seem hidden or protected. The Minneapolis raid isn't the only one. Earlier, in Shakopee, the business Empire Cuisine and Market got caught taking millions in fake reimbursement claims. Put the two cases side by side, and it's clear how gaps in the welfare programs got exploited in a planned way. This isn't about one person anymore. It's a sign that holes have been there long enough for people to take advantage. 1 Kings 21:23 keeps the strong warning about abusing power. The Lord also says about Jezebel, "Dogs will eat her flesh by the wall of Jezreel." This isn't a judgment on today, but it's a clear reminder. History always leaves a trail for anyone who thinks power can escape consequences. Of course, some people say these investigations have a political slant or get blown out of proportion. Still, data from the U.S. Department of Justice shows dozens of welfare fraud cases getting prosecuted, with solid financial proof and money trails tracked in detail. That points to the problem being in the actions and how things were run, not in any community's background or name. 2 Kings, chapter 9, verse 10, wraps up Jezebel's story with an ending that couldn't be changed. Dogs will eat Jezebel in the field at Jezreel, and no one will bury her. This is the last hint in this opening part. No power structure is strong enough to hide wrongdoing forever once the truth starts coming out.